إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل. O servants of Allah, I advise you and myself with the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that we strive and that we give great effort and take great precaution into doing that which is Tayyib, and that we take great effort into doing that which is Tayyib, that our aqidah, that our belief be that which is Tayyib or good, and that our actions be those which are Tayyib or good, and that our statements be those that which are Tayyib or good. For indeed these good and righteous beliefs, statements and actions is what the individual is distinguished by in this dunya, and what the individual is raised with here in this dunya and in the akhirah. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, لا يستوي الخبيث والطيبات ولو أعجبك كثرة الخبيث. That which is evil and indecent, it is not equal to that which is tayyib, to that which is good, even if it astonishes you the amount of that which is evil. So that which is good, O servants of Allah, these tayyibat are the only thing that will benefit you with Allah Azza wa Jal, and the only thing that will help you, and the only thing that will guarantee your victory in this dunya and in the akhirah. And as far as the khaba'ith, as far as this wickedness and wicked actions, then they have no benefit. وَلَوْ كَثَرَتْ أَعْدَادُهَا, even if their numbers are plentiful. أَوْ حَسَنَتْ مَنْظَرُهَا, or it is beautiful to look at. أَوْ غَلَتْ أَسْعَارُهَا, or it has a very high value or price. Then in spite of all of that, then compared to that which is good, then these khaba'ith have no benefit, O servants of Allah. And this is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he informed us in a hadith that is authentic, a hadith that was collected by Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala fi sahihi, in his authentic book, from the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that he said that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Inna Allah tayyib ولا يقبل إلا الطيب وإن الله أمر المؤمنين بما أمر به المرسلين فقال تعالى يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا وقال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم ثم ذكر الرجل أشعث وأغبر يمد يديه إلى السماء يا رب ومطعمه حرام ومشربه حرام وملبسه حرام وغذي بالحرام فأنى يستجاب له. This is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he informed us in the authentic hadith where he said that Allah is tayyib and He does not accept that which is tayyib. And indeed Allah has commanded the mu'mineen with the same things that He has commanded the messengers. So He said, the translation of it is, O messengers, eat from that which we have, eat from the good or the tayyibat that we have provided, and work righteous actions. And He said, Ta'ala, O you who have iman, eat from that which we have provided you from that which is tayyibah. And then he mentioned a man who was disheveled and dirty, raising yatil al-safar, going on a long trip, disheveled and dirty, stretching his hands out to the sky, saying, "Oh my Lord, oh my Lord." وَمَطْعَمُهُ حَرَامٌ, but his food is haram. وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ, and his drink is haram. وَمَلْبَسُهُ حَرَامٌ, and his clothing is haram. وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ, and he has been nourished and sustained by that which is haram. فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابَ لَهُ, so how can he be answered to? This hadith, ya ibadallah, is from the greatest of hadith in Islam. And whoever understands this hadith and he has learned a foundation from the foundations of Islam. For indeed the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Allahu Tayyib, Inna Allah Tayyib, فَهَذَا مِنْ أَوْصَافِهِ جَلَّ جَلَالُهُ, then this is from his qualities and his attributes, glorified be he. So he is described as being Tayyib, Tayyibun fi dhati, wa bi asma'ihi wa sifati, wa bi af'ali, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is Tayyib in himself, and Tayyib in good and blessed with his names and attributes, and Tayyib in all of his actions. And what does this mean, O servants of Allah, when we say Allahu Tayyib? The word Tayyib means khali min al-naqais, free from every defect. So Allah is free from all defects, perfect in his nature. Tayyibun wa la yaqbalu illa tayyib, and he does not accept that which is tayyib. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Inna Allah tayyib wa la yaqbalu illa tayyib. Allah is tayyib, and he only accepts that which is tayyib. Allah only accepts from our beliefs that which is tayyib. Allah only accepts from our statements that which is tayyib. And Allah only accepts from our actions that which is tayyib. And indeed the most beneficial and the most useful and the greatest of these tayyibat that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts from us is al-ikhlasu lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, is this sincerity in worship for Allah Azza wa Jal. And this statement, La ilaha illallah, this statement, this blessed statement, this kalimatun tayyibah, as Allah Azza wa Jal, he said in the Quran, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا كَلِمَةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ كَشَجَرَةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ أَصْلُهَا ثَابِتٌ وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ تُؤْتِي أُكُلُهَا فِي كُلِّ حِينٍ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهَا وَيَضْرِبُ اللَّهُ الْأَمْثَالَ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ وَمَثَلُ كَلِمَةٍ خَبِيثَةٍ كَشَجَرَةٍ خَبِيثَةٍ اجْتُثَّتْ مِنْ فَوْقِ الْأَرْضِ مَا لَهَا مِنْ قَرَارٍ. Allah Azza wa Jal, he describes for us this statement, this kalimatun tayyibah. So he says, the translation of it is, and Allah sets an example of a good statement, is the example of a good tree. Its base or its trunk or its roots are firm in the ground, and its branches are high in the sky. It gives off its fruit at every time with the permission of its Lord. Like this, Allah sets examples for mankind that they might remember. And the example of an evil statement is like the example of an evil tree that has been uprooted from the face of the earth, and it has no establishment. So this is the most beneficial of these tayyibat that we can have, as servants of Allah. And this is the first thing that we need to direct our attention to, is that we make our aqeedah, is that we make our i'tiqad tayyiban lillah, good for Allah Azza wa Jal, that we believe in him alone, and that we work righteous actions, and that all of our actions be tayyib. As Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu anfiqu min tayyibati ma kasabtum. O you who have iman, spend from the tayyibat of which you have earned. فالصدقات والإنفاق وكذلك سائر الأعمال لا يقبل إلا أن يكون طيبا لا تقبل إلا أن تكون طيبا. So the sadaqat that we might give and the provisions that we might spend, they're not accepted. And likewise, every other action that we do, it's not accepted by Allah unless it be
Tayyib. So like this, the Muslim, he strives. And for this reason, the Muslim, he strives to make his life, all of it, Tayyib, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, due to his knowledge that nothing else will be accepted by Allah. And so when we ask ourselves the question, Ya servants of Allah, how do we make our life Tayyib? How do we accomplish this Tayyibah, this goodness in our life? Then Allah Azza wa Jal, he directed us how. And he told us how he will provide it for us. So he said, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بما كانوا يعملون. Whoever does righteous actions, whether male or female, and they have iman, then we will give them a life that is tayyib. We will give them a life that is good, and we will reward them for that. We will give them the reward for that which they used to do. We know, O servants of Allah, that Allah is tayyib, la yaqbalu illa tayyib. So it's necessary that our whole life be this way. As the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was commanded to say, قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَنُسُكِ وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. That my salah and my sacrifice and my life and my death is all for Allah. And so if it's all for Allah, then it must be tayyib. In order for us to accomplish this, then our actions must be righteous. And we must have iman in Allah Azza wa Jal with sincerity to Him. And this is how we should strive until we die, until the angels take us. And if we are in this state, for Bushra ya Abdullah, then have glad tidings, O servant of Allah, as Allah informed you when He said, الَّذِينَ يَتَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ طيبين يقولون سلام عليكم ادخلوا الجنة بما كنتم تعملون. Allah, He says, those who the angels, they take them tayyibin, while they were in a state of goodness. They say to them, salamun alaykum, go into Jannah due to what you used to do. So when we strive to make our life good until our death, and we die upon this way that is good, then receive the glad tidings, O servant of Allah. Receive the glad tidings of Jannah due to what you used to be upon. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجِنَّةِ زُمَرًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ خَزْنَتُهَا سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ تِبْتُمْ فَادْخُلُوهَا خَالِدِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, and those who used to fear their Lord will be driven to the paradise in groups until they come to it, and its gates will be open, and its gatekeepers will say to them, Salamun alaykum, tibtum, you were good, you accomplished this tayyib, you accomplished this righteousness, this goodness, so enter into it, i.e. the paradise forever. So like this we strive, O servants of Allah, that our aqeedah be good. And a good aqeedah is that which is proven by the book and the sunnah. And we strive that our statements be good. And a good statement is a statement based off of saying the truth that we find in the Quran and the sunnah. And we strive that our actions be good. And a good action is an action that corresponds to the book and the sunnah. And when we do this, then we accomplish the good that Allah Azza wa Jal sent His messenger for. يُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. He makes good for them, He makes permissible for them that which is good, and He forbids them from that which is evil. We strive in every aspect in our life to be upon this goodness, even in the extent of the partners and the mates that we seek out. For Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, الخبيثون للخبيثات والخبيثات للخبيثون والخبيثون للخبيثات والطيبات للطيبين والطيبون للطيبات الخبيثات للخبيثين والخبيثون للخبيثات والطيبات للطيبين والطيبون للطيبات. Allah Azza wa Jal informed us that the evil and the wicked individuals are for each other, and the righteous and the good individuals are for each other. So like this we strive, O servants of Allah. But how many people we find nowadays? How many people do we see nowadays? يَطْلُبُونَ الْخَبَائِثِ. They seek out that which is evil. And they strive to get that which is filthy and disgusting, knowing that Allah will not accept it from it. Knowing that Allah will not accept it from them. But they say we are forced. So they live in places of khubth. They live in places of filth, in homes accomplished by riba. And they drive that which is filthy in cars that they purchase with impermissible money. And they work and they own and they earn in ways that are filthy by selling that which Allah has made prohibited and doing that which Allah has made unlawful. And then they are astonished by how hard their lives are and the hardships that they endure and how their du'as are not answered. As if they haven't heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that Allah is Tayyib wa la yaqbalu illa Tayyib. That Allah is good and He only accepts that which is good. So like this, O servants of Allah, we have to strive. We must strive to make every aspect of our life good. We must stay away from eating that which is haram and living off of that which is haram. Because indeed, this is from the things that make our actions rejected. As Abu Abdullah Saji, he said, "Khamsu khisal." There are 5 qualities biha tamamul amal. By way of them, the action is completed. Al-imanu bi ma'rifatillah wa ma'rifatil haqq wal ikhlas al-amali lillah wa muwafaqati sunnah wa akl al-halal. He said that there are 5 qualities that righteous actions become complete by way of them. Having iman and the awareness of Allah, and to know and to be aware of what is the truth, and to be sincere in your actions for Allah only, and that your actions correspond to the sunnah, and that you eat from that which is halal. He goes on to say, so whoever knows Allah, or whoever has iman in Allah, but does not know the truth, then his action will not benefit him. And whoever knows the truth, but has no iman in Allah, then his action will not benefit him. And whoever knows Allah and knows the truth, but his action is not solely for Allah's sake alone, then his action will not benefit him. And whoever knows the Allah and knows the truth and does it sincerely for Allah, but it doesn't correspond to the sunnah, then his action will not benefit him. And whoever does all 4, but eats from that which is unpermissible, then his actions will not benefit him. And indeed, we've all mentioned the hadith that the flesh that is most suitable for the hellfire is that flesh that is nourished off of that which is haram. So how can we, O servants of Allah, strive and go out and make provisions by seeking out that which is haram? Indeed, a little bit of that which is good is more beneficial than that which is filth. As Allah said, لا يستوي الخبيث والطيب لا يستوي الخبيث والطيب ولو أعجبك كثرة الخبيث. That which is filthy is not equal to that which is good, even if that which is good is more in abundant. So we need to be steadfast on this, O servants of Allah, that we might die on this state of goodness, that the angels might give us salams and give us the glad tidings of Jannah due to what we have accomplished in this work. So I advise you and myself that we make our belief good for Allah Azza wa Jal by adhering to that which the Messenger and his companions believed in. And we make our statements good for Allah Azza wa Jal, that we only say that which pleases Allah. And we make our actions good for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, that we only do that what makes Allah happy, because Allah will not accept other than that. And know, O servants of Allah, that this lack of acceptance can mean one of 2 things. This lack of acceptance can mean that this action is not accepted in totality, and it's rejected upon the one who does it. Like the one who spends with haram money, then his actions of charity and zakat is not accepted, and it's still obligatory upon him to perform that action. Or it could mean this lack of acceptance is that he is not accepted i.e. the reward is not given to him, and he is not praised for it, and Allah is not pleased with his action. And this is the example of when the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allah will not accept the salat of the one who goes to the soothsayer for 40 days. I.e. Allah will not reward him and will not accept his action, meaning giving him reward and being pleased with it. In either of the two, O servants of Allah, we seek refuge in Allah from, and we strive to make our actions good, that Allah might accept them in every way and in every fashion. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين من كل ذنب فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على نبيه الذي اصطفى محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. O servants of Allah, we can't stress it enough that it's necessary for us to avoid all that which is evil and to stay away from all that which is filthy, and that we do not seek out to try to obtain a benefit from that which was done with halal, with haram means, and that we do not seek out trying to benefit with things that are done in a haram fashion. Because verily from the greatest harms of this is that Allah Azza wa Jalla will not accept our dua, and that we will find hardship in our life, and that we will not have this hayatan tayyib. We will not have this good life. And indeed, for that reason, the Prophet ﷺ, he set the example for the one who eats that which is haram and benefits from that which is haram. So he said, ثم, as they said, he mentioned a man, يطيل السفر أشعث وأغبر يمد يديه إلى السماء يقول يا رب يا رب ومطعمه حرام ومشربه حرام وملبسه حرام وغذي بالحرام فأنى يستجاب له. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, mentioning a man who was on a long trip, disheveled and dirty, spreading his hands to the sky, saying and calling out, "Oh my Lord, oh my Lord." And this, O servants of Allah, all of these actions that the Prophet mentioned are from the qualities that get one's dua accepted. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said about the first quality, yatil as-safar, on a long trip. The Prophet, he said, ﷺ, ثَلَاثٌ مُسْتَجَابَاتٌ لَا شَكَّ فِيهِنْ. There are three who will be answered in their dua. There's no doubt about it. دعوة المظلوم ودعوة المسافر ودعوة الوالد لوالدي أو والد على والدي. The Prophet ﷺ, he said there's three who there will be answered. Their du'as will be answered. No doubt. The prayer or the supplication of the one being oppressed, the supplication of the traveler, and the supplication of the parent for its child, or the supplication of the parent against its child. So there's no doubt that traveling makes our du'as accepted. And then he said, Ash'atha wa akbar, disheveled and dirty. As the Prophet ﷺ, he used to go out for du'a al-istisqa. Ash'athan, go out disheveled and unkempt, tabadhulan lillah, as a way of humiliating himself for Allah. And as we find those who are on Arafah, disheveled and unkempt, making dua to Allah, this is from the means that Allah answers our dua. Yamuddu yadayhi ila as-sama', spreading his hands to the sky. And indeed, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that Allah is shy to return the hands. That either da'a rajulun, that when a man makes dua and raises his hands to the sky, then Allah is verily Allah is shy and generous. Inna Allah ta'ala hayyun kareem, يستحي إذا رفع رجل إليه يديه أن يردهما صفرا خائبتين. That he says Allah Ta'ala is shy and generous. He is more shy that if a man were to raise to him his hands, that he will return them empty without anything. And indeed the Prophet ﷺ used to raise his hands in various ways making dua, whether it be in isha, or whether it be raising them high ibtihalan, or whether it be raising them to the middle of his chest, and the majority of his dua out of asking Allah. All of these are from the means that get our duas answered. And then he said, يَقُولُ يَا رَبُّ يَا رَبُّ He says, "Oh my Lord, oh my Lord." And there's no doubt that this is from the greatest means of getting our du'as answered, is that we supplicate, وَنَتَوَصَّلُ إِلَى اللَّهِ بِرُبُوبِيَّتِهِ, that we ask Allah and we request of Him by way of His Lordship. As we find in the dua in the Quran, majority of them, if not the majority of them, say, رَبَّنَا يَا رَبِّ, هَكَذَا يَقُولُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ, like this is mentioned in the Quran. All of these things the person did that would get his dua accepted. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said after that, وَمَطْعَمُهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَلْبَسُهُ حَرَامٌ وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ فَأَنَّى يُسْتَجَابَ لَهُ, that his food is haram. We find ourselves eating that which Allah has made unlawful, whether we eat that which is unlawful directly or we eat that which is purchased with unlawful means. وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ, we find ourselves drinking that which Allah has made unlawful. وَمَلْبَسُهُ حَرَامٌ, wearing that which Allah has made unlawful, from things that have images, and men wearing silk, and women not wearing the proper garments and coverings. وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ, and they're provided and nourished with ways that are haram. فَأَنَّى يُسْتَجَابَ لَهُ, how could he be answered? How could his dua be answered, O servant of Allah? Who of us is not in the need of Allah to answer our dua? Who of us is not in the need of Allah to help us in our affairs? But we continue to disobey Allah, and then we're astonished when we find ourselves in hardships and our dua is not being answered. And indeed, in the hadith that's from the greatest of hadith, if this actions of haram is what get our du'as to not be answered, then this doing this tayyib, this doing the halal, is what makes our du'as accepted and answered. As Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said in the hadith al-Qudsi, "Man aada li waliyan faqad aadhantuhu bil harb," ila an qala, hatta akuna sam'ahu alladhi yasma'u bi, wa basarahu alladhi yubsiru bi, wa yaduhu allati yabtashu biha, wa rijluhu allati yamshi biha, wa la in sa'alani la'utiyanna, wa la in ista'adhani la'u'idhanna. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith about al-wilayah, or about friendship to Allah, that whoever man adali, whoever becomes an enemy or fights or harms one of my awliya, then I have announced war against him. Until he says in that hadith that a person does not cease to do the voluntary actions until I love him. And when I love him, I become the hearing with which he hears with, and the sight with which he sees with, and the hand with which he stretches forth with, and the foot with which he walks with. And if he asks me, I give it to him. And if he seeks refuge in me, I give him refuge. Like this we need to be, O servants of Allah. Like this, if we do this, O servants of Allah, then we will find our affairs, all of them, coming together correctly. And we will find our lives being done, and we will find our lives being in a fashion that is good and acceptable by Allah Azza wa Jalla. But if we turn away, then know that Allah is ghaniyun anna, that Allah is free of need from us, and that we only worship Him for our benefit. So worship Allah, O servants of Allah, that Allah might enter you into His paradise and keep you away from the hardships of this life. Allahumma nas'aluka al-ilm wal-amal as-salih wal-taqwa. Oh Allah, we ask you for knowledge and righteous actions and taqwa, and we seek refuge in you from shirk, ignorance, and following of our desires. Wa aqimus salat.